There are a lot of RPGs. Like a lot of RPGs. Okay, hold on. Okay, Google. How many Final Fantasy games are there? That doesn't seem right. Okay, Google. How many Final Fantasy games are there, really? Yeah, that seems more accurate. The genre originates from tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, but as time goes on, the boundaries of the genre have become kind of fuzzy. This is a turn-based RPG. This is an action RPG. This is a JRPG. This is a platformer RPG. And this is a roguelike RPG. This is a Souls-like RPG. And this is an open-world adventure RPG. This is a horror ARG RPG. This is a gacha game RPG. This is a sports RPG. This is a choose-your-own-adventure RPG. This is an IRL RPG. This is, this is a cryptocurrency NFT card game play-to-earn gambling RPG. What the fuck?
There's been news articles and stuff about how people in third world countries have been making livings and earning more than they've ever done in the jobs available in their own countries.
Shut the fuck. Then, in 2016, everything changed when a game by an indie developer exploded onto the scene. The game was an RPG inspired by the cult classic Earthbound that leaned more heavily into the quirky side while trying to tell a story with complex ideas and themes. It also tried to shake up the general formula of RPGs, disincentivizing combat and leveling up entirely, and opened the doors to a new wave of genre-pushing games. Then every game was a quirky Earthbound-inspired RPG that tried to tell a unique story with interesting themes. These are mother-like RPGs. Now, chess doesn't work as an RPG because no one roleplays in chess. No one's like, I'm the commander of units in a heated war during chess. Until you realize that doesn't matter. Yeah, you don't really have to roleplay for a game to be an RPG. Like, tell me the last time you sent out a Pokemon for character development rather than it having the right rock, paper, scissors move. I've seen more role-playing in GTA and Roblox than in an RPG. And let me tell you, I've seen some role-playing. On top of that, a lot of these games don't have engaging stories, so it's not like, fun to roleplay the predetermined character. If you can't tell, I'm not the biggest fan of RPGs. So when Disco Elysium says fuck you, puts its dick on the table, and chucks a bunch of dice at me, I'm hooked. In Disco Elysium, you play as a detective for the city of Revachol, investigating a murder for the province of Martinez. Like tabletop role-playing games, the game is basically entirely told through text, but uses the occasional visual element to really shock the player. The game has mainly stiff animations that are described before they are done, so when this happens, and then this,
suddenly your entire body is paralyzed. Aggressive.
And then this.
She's truly desperate. She thinks she has no. You know, this is how you talk her out of it. It's the only scenario in which she lives. She pulls the trigger before you finish your sentence.
Well, you don't really expect it. Because of how the game is set up, there's no real action, but instead skill checks, where you roll dice, and depending on the challenge rating of the check, and the amount of points you have in that skill, you either pass and do the action, or fail, and are forced to wait until you level up and put points into that specific skill. This is RNG, plain and simple. And like RNG in most games, it is pretty annoying. But it plays into the greatest strength of Disco Elysium, forcing the player to roleplay. Say you fail one of the first necessary checks. Okay, you gotta level up. To level up, you need XP. To get XP, you must do certain tasks for or interact with NPCs in the game. You're given quite a bit of XP for the storyline quest, but this is likely not enough to carry you through all the checks. So the game forces you to talk to the smaller NPCs. Getting certain information from NPCs and doing menial quests for them gives you XP, which allows you to redo checks. But it also teaches you about these characters and the world and gives you more information about who did the murder. You know, like a detective. But maybe you're like me, and you're still super unlucky, and you fail the first necessary jump in the game over and over and over, and please kill me. Well, the game almost always has multiple ways to do a task. Instead of doing that jump, you can go talk to this guy, a Seminese supremacist, and convince him to help you. But before he does, he wants to make sure that you believe in his ideology of Seminese supremacism. This brings in another way the game forces you to roleplay. Thoughts. For a certain amount of in-game time, you can think about an idea. Maybe it's a funny name of a place. Maybe it's how to talk to inanimate things. Maybe it's fascism. These thoughts give you in-game benefits that increase your chances at succeeding in skill checks. However, they also change your speech prompts. And the thing is, no one talks like them. For example, in my game, my character found out about a failed communist revolution and thought he was going to revive communism as its new leader. And let me just say that the game is very, very slightly biased, but not as much as the reviews say it is. Here's what they call communism.
So tell me, do you have any questions before we fire up the big communism builder? Or do we get right down to it? Failure. It's about failure.
After contemplating this thought, I started getting communist speech prompts. And every time I said one, I would get 4 XP, which doesn't seem like a lot, but quickly compiles into a decent amount. So, I would get a pretty good bonus for repeatedly saying weird things to NPCs and doing weird actions. Kind of like the game is rewarding me for acting weird, and not like myself. And I don't know if you know this, but acting like a weird person is the same thing as roleplaying as a weird person. And you can't just accept all these thoughts, find out the benefit, and then forget them, because you will lose certain speech options for ones that you maybe don't want to say, because they're really weird. So you have to pick and choose how you want to improve your chances at skill checks. Or in other words, you have to pick and choose how you want to roleplay. The game even counts your responses to tell you how you roleplayed, and then makes fun of you for doing so, even though you just needed the bonuses to counteract the RNG. It is really cool, in my opinion. This system is mixed with the game's world, one that is cynical and dismal in nature. The game has an overall color palette of muted colors that show a world with long-standing history, emotion, and current struggles. But it also includes lighthearted moments that come out of nowhere and are just fun. The game is brilliantly voice-acted with a script that is poetic, but also sometimes unabashedly, how would you put it, unrefined?
I'll fucking do them all in. Rape that disco cunt on the counter. You know, the dance a whore upstairs.
NPCs don't have canned messages, but long dialogues that go through topics that aren't really discussed in video games. This game is filled with subtle details about how the world works, like for example how your character is the same person no matter how you choose to roleplay. All of these factors coalesce into something that's unlike anything else in the genre right now. Something that takes influences from inside and out, something that forces the player to confront complex themes in a way that is sometimes uncomfortable, but immensely immersive. Something that tries to be unique. Just don't play the Switch port. Please, for the love of God, please don't play the Switch port. God, what? What? You just went through the door. Huh? You didn't open the door. What are you guys doing? What are you doing? What are you fucking holding open? You didn't open the door! What?